Let me know when you're ready, Jack. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Welcome back. It was a good break. And again, I do like being down here better. So a lot of you raised your hands that you're ready to do this liver flush. So I'm going to show you how to do it. That's what this class is all about. Can everybody see the stuff that's on the table okay? Good. But I do have a little video in here, and I'm just going to play the video clip because I share a lot of information in the video clip, and then we're going to go through it again. So I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to show you how to do this. So again, here's the disclaimer. I have to do this to cover myself as well as, legal purposes. All right. We covered a lot of this information this morning. Stones in the biliary tree can be soft or they can be calcified, though the calcified ones are usually in the gallbladder and not the liver. And these are harder to pass, and they have to be softened before you can pass them. And you have to do something to dilate your bile ducts so that they don't get stuck. Now, who's ever heard of biliary colic? Anybody ever heard of that? Having a stone stuck? That's actually a surgical emergency. Now, anytime that happens spontaneously with somebody, they've gotten one of these hard stones stuck. But we take, excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth here. We take something to soften the stones, and then we take something to dilate the bile ducts. In all the years that I've been doing this, which is probably 15 or 20 years maybe, that I've been involved with liver flushing, not one time have I had somebody have to go to the hospital because they had a stone stuck, if they followed the directions, okay? If you go off and do your own tangent, I can't be responsible for that, okay? So you need to follow the directions and make sure that you do it correctly. Malic acid is the component in green apples and tart cherries that gives them that sour tart flavor. And this actually aids in softening these stones so that they can be passed. I have had people use the apple juice. You just drink nothing but apple juice for like a week before the liver flush. I don't like that method because that's a lot of sugar. And it's very challenging to do that. And the liver flush is not exactly the most pleasant thing in the world to do. You can do it though, but I have to be honest. But I don't want to make it any harder than it needs to be. So we use concentrated form. This is actually malic acid that's taken from Granny Smith apples right here. You can buy malic acid in powdered form like this and drink it, or you can buy it in a capsule form like this and drink. Now this one has some added stuff. It has vitamin C and magnesium. I use one from, I think it's called Nature's Life, and it's pure malic acid. It's 800 milligrams, and you need 800 milligrams roughly. Depending on your size, you may need a little bit more. The beauty of the malic acid is it's very anti-inflammatory. It's a good pain reliever as well. So it has more than one benefit. But if you've never done a liver flush, it's important to take that malic acid at least 10 days before you do a liver flush. That's going to soften those stones up so that they're easier to pass through the bile ducts. The Epsom salt is going to help to dilate the bile ducts. The citrus. I usually use grapefruit juice. I had somebody ask me this weekend, they're allergic to citrus, and I'm researching how to do the liver flush without having to use the citrus juice. So hopefully I'll have an answer for that soon. I have some ideas, but anyway, I'd never run into anybody with a citrus allergy before, so I really appreciate doing these seminars because I learned so much. It causes me to go back and research more, so I like that. So, if you have a stent in your bile ducts, you cannot do the liver flush. You have to do something else. You have to work around it. You can take the malic acid, but you can't do the flush because those bile ducts they're not dynamic. they're fixed. They can't move and dilate like they need to allow stones to pass through. So this is a contraindication. Stents in the bile ducts, you can't do it. Most people that I work with who have done these flushes, and I myself as well, notice more energy after I do it. I feel better. I feel lighter. I don't feel so heavy. I have done dozens again, and I've never had one become lodged. Stones are often deep within the biliary tree, and I mentioned this in the last talk. They have to migrate towards the duct so that they can be eliminated. That's why it's not just a one and done. A liver flush is not just a one and done thing. It's a series of liver flushes because, again, these stones have to migrate from deep within the liver, and also because I showed you the picture how the gallbladder kind of tilts down a little bit, it has to squeeze those stones up out of there. And if it's loaded with stones, it's going to take it a while to get them out of there. And I think I mentioned this earlier, when I do a series of flushes, I do it every 2 to 3 weeks. Excuse me. So, I'm going to have the coughing fit again here, excuse me. Okay, so on the day of the flush, you want to eat very light, no fats, and very little protein. So a smoothie would be a good idea. If you want a juice, that'd be a good idea. Especially cruciferous vegetables would be fantastic. You want to make sure that you drink plenty of water. I have a lot of people that have bloating and cramping and all that when they do the liver flush. Typically, that's because they have not drunk enough water. And I'll talk about that more as we go on. If you have not had a bowel movement by the time, and I'm introducing things, but we're going to go over this in detail, okay? If you haven't had a bowel movement, by the time it's time to do the flush, you need to do an enema. You need to do something to clear the bowel out a little bit. Okay, so what we do is we take a jar, and this is going to be the Epsom salt drink. Now, why do we use Epsom? Epsom salt, it's a twofold benefit. Well, a threefold benefit. If you can call Taste Nasty a benefit. Epsom is a laxative, you know that. But it also dilates the bile ducts. So we're going to mix juice and the Epsom. We'll do that in a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to do it right now. And we're going to mix oil and juice in the other jar, okay? And this is the timing of it that we have up here. The juice and Epsom mixture is going to be divided into 4 equal doses. You're going to take 2 in the evening and 2 in the morning. Be sure and stay home when you do this. This is not something you do when you're traveling. When you drink, now 4 divided doses from 1 quart is going to be 1 cup. Okay? When you take your 1 cup, I encourage you to drink at least that much water after it. Excuse me. A lot of stuff draining down my throat here. Okay, we talked about this. Why Epsom increases bowel motility and it dilates the bile ducts. The oil and juice mixture. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, I tipped the scale at a whopping 95 pounds. So I don't need as much oil. My husband is almost twice my size. So I give him more oil than I give myself. I can get away with a little over a fourth cup, between a fourth and a third cup of oil. I give him between a third and a half cup of oil. And you're going to get a visit from my husband in just a little bit in this video, in this presentation. When you mix the oil mixture, again, based on your size, you're going to put at least as much juice as you do oil. That makes it more palatable, but grapefruit juice is a little bit more powerful than orange juice, but the citrus juices help to dilate the bile ducts, but it also helps it to be a little bit more palatable because it's not the most pleasant thing in the world to drink oil. When the Epsom starts to work and do its business, stay home. I'm emphasizing that. After you've drunk the oil mixture, you really need to go to bed. What I do is I take oil and juice mixture into the bathroom. I shake it up. I fix my toothbrush. I shake it up. I drink the oil. I try not to breathe. And then I brush my teeth immediately. And then doTERRA makes these lozenges for like coughing and stuff. And they have one that's kind of like a minty flavor and one that's kind of like the thieves that they have here. And we will sometimes use those to help help negate the taste of the oil and stuff. If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, but once you drink that oil, you can't drink or eat anything else. You need to go to bed, lay down on your right side, slightly elevate your shoulder, and rest. Okay? Now here's a little video that's going to walk you through how to mix all this up.
Okay, so I am going to be
Can you hear it?
a liver flush later on today. I have been preparing for it, and I've talked in other parts about how to actually prepare. But I wanted to show you what I actually do to mix this up. Now, I am a small person. I weigh around 100 pounds. I know that some people use a half a cup of olive oil, but I feel as though that's a bit much for someone my size. So I tend to lean more towards somewhere between a quarter and a third of a cup of oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my oil mixture in a small jar and my Epsom salt mixture in the quart jar, because I'm going to need almost a quart of the Epsom salt and juice mixture. So I just use an Epsom salt that I found at Walmart, the great brand, works on. Just make sure it doesn't have additives in it like lavender or something like that. Just make sure it's just pure food grade magnesium sulfate Epsom salt. I also add a couple of drops of tangerine oil to my Epsom salt mixture, and you can put a drop in the oil mixture as well. You can also put a little bit of tincture of wormwood, black walnut hull, and clove in your oil mixture and take that at the same time. And I may do that. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do that. But what I would do is just put a half a dropper full of that tincture in the oil mixture. And that will help, for instance, if there's any kind of parasites blocking the bile ducts or anything. Now, the purpose of the Epsom salt is it helps to open up those bile ducts, and it also increases gastric motility, so it helps to clear out any stones. So the reason that I add the tangerine oil is because tangerine tends to have an effect on the bile ducts as well, a dilating effect, and also grapefruit juice has that same effect. So let me show you what I do. It'll be a little noisy here as I dip into the bag. I put 4 tablespoons of Epsom salt in a large jar. There's some chunks and stuff in there, so it's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want about 4 tablespoons. And the bigger the person is, you want to make sure that you're not shy. See, this tablespoon is just a little shy. For me, that's okay, because like I said, I'm a small person. So, and then I will just pretty much fill this up the rest of the way with my grapefruit juice and mix that up. That will be divided into 4 doses. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but let me show you what I do for the oil mixture. So, as I said, I'm not a large person. This is open and ready to go. This is a 1/3 cup measure. So I'm going to fill it almost full, and that will be the extra virgin olive oil that I need. Just shy of a third cup. Pour that in here. Okay, and then I'm going to add an equal amount of the grapefruit juice to here, pretty much equal amount. Okay, whoops. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need for the oil and juice mixture. You know, you can see the oil and the juice separating. So I'll just cap that and set it aside. Now, right now, it's almost 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to drink the first dose of my Epsom mixture around 5 p.m., 5 to 6 p.m., somewhere in there. You want to make sure that your juice and your oil are room temperature when you do that. So I take it out and mix it fairly early, like, you know, it's 11 o'clock. So by the time that I would get ready to actually start drinking my mixtures, it's pretty much room temperature. So I'll go ahead, I'm going to put maybe a couple of drops of the tangerine essential oil in there. I think 3 drops came out, and that's okay. And then I will fill this the rest of the way pretty much full with the grapefruit juice. And then we'll shake that up well. You just need to make sure that you have 4 cups of that. And then again, you're going to divide that into four equal doses. And you're going to drink 2 of the doses. Like this evening, I'll drink a cup of this at 5, and then I'll drink a cup of this again around 7 or a little after. And then at bedtime, I'll shake this oil mixture up and drink it. And then I want to lie down on my right side with my shoulders slightly elevated. Up on your pillow is pretty much enough. Now, is it tough to drink the oil? Yeah, it kind of is. It's nasty. But I have these natural lozenges you can use, like a Fisherman's Friend. doTERRA makes a nice lozenge. If you have some natural chewing gum or something that you can put in your mouth to help take away that oil flavor. And then you just want to rest. Don't drink any water after you've drinking the oil mixture for at least an hour, and just lie quietly there on your right side. Now, if you need to go to the bathroom, because this may actually start working on you in the evening. So if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. If you need to brush your teeth after you drink this, if that helps you, then that's fine too. But don't drink any water after this. You want that oil. What the oil is, and I'm sure that I've explained it in other areas in the talk, the oil causes the liver, the gallbladder, the bile ducts, all those things to really go into overdrive, and it just flushes and pushes any stones. It kind of helps to move them along. And again, you may do your first liver flush and see no stones and just nothing in your stool. But that doesn't mean they're not there. They have to migrate down through the bile ducts, out of deep in the liver. Sometimes those things can be. And so I have done 2, 3 of these liver flushes and seen very little or nothing. And then the next time I do one, and there's the mother load, just the whole, when you eliminate the whole top of the water in the toilet bowl will be just covered, floating with stones. And so these things have to migrate. It takes time. A liver flush is not just a one-time fixes-it deal. Typically what we do is we do a series of about a dozen of these back-to-back, about 2 to 3 weeks apart. And they're very effective to help clear out the liver.
Okay. Now, I'm going to give you a guest appearance here. My husband is going to demonstrate how to drink the oil mixture. I miss my husband, so it's nice to see him in the video there. Okay. Who wants to volunteer to come up and mix this? Anybody? You remember? Okay. But you come up. No, both of you come up. Both of you come up. One of you can mix one thing and one can mix the other. Okay. Which one do you want to mix? The oil mixture or the Epsom salt? Okay. All right. So you will do this one right here. You guys can come back here. There's the Epsom and the juice you'll share. And so you're by default doing the oil. Okay. So how much Epsom are you going to use? 4 tablespoons. Okay. Go ahead. A little child shall lead them. Shake it up first. So when Daddy gets ready to do his flush, you can help him. Jack, now you can drink my orange juice. Good job. Okay, now you put the lid on and just give her a good shake. I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything you said.
Which is better to make with the Epsom salt, the orange juice or the grapefruit juice?
Grapefruit juice has a greater effect on the bile ducts. Okay, so I prefer to use grapefruit juice because I don't particularly care for grapefruit juice, and if I use orange juice, it messes up my orange juice, and I don't want to drink orange juice for a month, you know, so I like to use the grapefruit because it does have a greater effect on the bile ducts. You know, it's kind of a toss-up, but I do think the orange tastes better.
I would say the orange probably tastes better, but the grapefruit I would do because it works better.
Yeah. Yeah. But the orange does work. You can use the orange. And some people use lemon juice. I've never done that, but yeah. Did she? Okay. All right, she's going to mix the oil mixture now. Yeah, do it for yourself. What would you do for yourself? Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of little like me. I thought I had done all the prep stuff. Here. So how much you got there? About a third? About a third cup. Good. Okay. You can put the tangerine oil in both of these because it has a greater effect on the liver bile ducts. And I usually do. I think I forgot it in the video, but I usually put 2 or 3 drops of tangerine oil in both of these mixtures. That's all right. That's not a problem. Perfect. Now you can shake that all you want, but it's going to separate again in just a minute. So you have to shake this right before you drink it. Okay, very good. All right. Now, if there was anybody that I felt comfortable sending that home with, I would, but you haven't had the malic acid. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Okay. So again, the malic acid you have to take at least a week to 10 days. If you've never done a flush, take the malic acid for at least 10 days first. If you have, like me, I've done a lot of liver flushes and I'm on a very alkaline diet, so I typically just take it for a week and I'm fine. I've never had a problem. So you may be too. So, again, all right, here's the caution again. If you have stents in your bile ducts, don't do this. Here's some more important points. Please follow the protocol, because if you don't, you could have some complications that might not be so pleasant. If you want more information on this, you can find it in Andreas Moritz's book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. It's a fantastic textbook. He is dead now, but the man knew his stuff. The liver, we mentioned earlier, does autophagy. It's house cleaning. Autophagy literally means self-eating. It does its self-cleaning at night. And so that's why we do this flush at night, so that the liver can be cleaned and stuff. Bile is needed for this flush, and so this is why we don't do a coffee enema before, because coffee enema increases bile flow. Now let me talk a little bit about coffee. I am a teetotaler when it comes to drinking coffee. I think it's extremely harmful. When you use coffee in an enema, and it's a very particular kind of coffee that you have to use, it has a totally different effect. It enters the liver through there's hemorrhoidal veins in the rectum. That goes straight up to the portal vein, to the liver, and it increases, you remember that master antioxidant we talked about, glutathione? When you do the coffee enema, it increases glutathione production by up to 700%. And it causes the liver to just dump toxins into the bile. So I like to do after the next day, after all this is done, the fireworks are over, I like to come the next day and do a coffee enema, because that dilates the bile ducts, increases the bile flow, increases glutathione, helps to clear any residual stones out of the colon. And so if your conscience bothers you with doing that, I totally respect that. I have some colleagues who are using and recommending dandelion leaf. I have not been able to find any research on using dandelion leaf. It's the leaf, not the root. The root is too powerful. But the leaf as an enema, I have not found any research on that, but my colleagues are using it, and they say that they're having success, so I have no question of that. So if you want to do that instead, that's fine. Okay, so the evening of the flush, you're going to drink at 5. You're going to drink a dose of this, just 1 cup. I usually just drink it right out of the jar down to the 1 cup, to the 3 cup mark, and then I go and drink some water. Remember, if you don't drink enough water with this, you can end up with some yucky, nasty bloating and cramping, okay, because it's got the magnesium in it, and magnesium is trying to pull water into the colon, and if it doesn't have enough water to pull into there, it just kind of sits there. So if you have plenty of water there, it's just going to let it go, okay? You're going to evacuate it and not have all of this bloating and stuff. So you would do that. I do it at 5 and 7 because you have to wait, a time frame like 2 hours in between each dose of stuff. And I don't like to stay up late. I turn into a pumpkin at like 8:30. So 9 o'clock, I drink the oil mixture and I go to bed. So I make an exception and stay up till 9. And then I like to brush my teeth to get that citrus off of my teeth, because I've had some dental problems with all my health issues. The next morning, whatever time you get up, I usually get up at 5 and drink it. If you get up at 6, that's fine, whatever. I get up at 5 and drink it, and then I do my next dose at 7. And then, it's fireworks the rest of the day. I'm back and forth to the bathroom. So I make sure I have stuff in the house to do. So you definitely should be having bowel movements by then. If not, it's probably because you haven't had enough water. And this is another reason why you want to make sure that your colon is not plugged up before you do the liver flush. You want to make sure that you have a good bowel movement before you start this liver flush. Okay. I just talked about the coffee enema. I think I did cover everything with there. Now I'm going to be honest. You see the little piggy here. When you do the liver flush, those stones and the fecal matter that comes out with this is putrid smelling. So you are going to wonder what crawled up inside of you and died. It is horrid, horrid, horrid stuff. okay? So I just want you to be prepared. It's going to smell bad, okay? It's going to smell worse than normal. All right, so on the day that, the morning that you've finished up and everything, you want to wait until later in the day if you're going to eat something, and make it light. And then the next day, remember, you've just done something that many people go to the hospital and have surgery for. So be gentle on your body. Eat things that are easy to digest. Don't pig out, So just give your body a break for a little bit. Salads, smoothies, that kind of stuff. Easy to digest stuff. In the days following, again, just don't go out and have a big old pizza or whatever, Your body has just been through a lot, so kind of take it easy. If you don't have a gallbladder, you can do the flush. You cannot store bile, and you're not going to have as great a flushing effect, and you may actually have to do more flushes to get the same effect as someone who actually still has their gallbladder there. Some other cautions: if you are sick or have some type of infection, if you're very weak, extremely thin people, you want to be cautious. Okay, you might want to work with somebody who knows this. If you know your body and you're fairly well educated, you can do it, but be cautious, okay? If you're taking prescription medications, again, we talked about the statins and antidepressants and things like that. Again, you might want to work with a practitioner because this flush can concentrate those medications. Constipation, again, open your bowels first. You cannot do this if you have a bowel obstruction of any form. You remember the video that I showed you about the parasites plugging up the colon? That's another reason why I like to do the parasite flush detox before I do the liver flush, because you may have parasites practically plugging up your colon and not even really realize it. Okay. So if you're pregnant or nursing, I don't recommend doing this. Diabetics can do this, but you need to be cautious because, again, the concentration of medications, bile stents, significant heart arrhythmia. So here is the rundown. If you want to take a picture of this, that's the protocol rundown. There's a little bit more on the next slide if you'd like to take a picture. I'll hold on just a minute. Y'all let me know when you're ready. You ready? Okay. What's that? Okay. Do you need me to go back? Okay, good. All right. I'll let you write that down. It's rare to find people that are not just snapping pictures of everything. They're actually taking notes. I like that.
On the day you're going to start the flush, what are you eating? Is this fasting?
You don't have to fast. Or use the first day when you're going to drink the stuff in the evening. I like to, like for instance for breakfast, I would eat some fruit and maybe a piece of toast with nothing on it. No fat on it, okay? No nuts, no protein or stuff like that, okay? Just basic, simple, nothing with heavy protein. Even broccoli has protein, so. And then for lunch, if you need to do something for lunch, you might make a vegetable smoothie, a small salad, but again, you be careful with that salad dressing. You can't use fats because that's going to take up your bile, and you want your body to have a good store of bile to give that flushing effect, to push the stones forward, okay? So basically, a raw salad, a raw smoothie, raw fruit. You don't have to fast, but just, I usually just do a bunch of fruit for breakfast. Again, maybe a piece of toast. My husband likes his bread, so he may have a piece of toast. And then for lunch, a lot of times we'll just have a salad or some steamed vegetables or something like that. Okay, are we ready for the next slide? Okay. That's kind of the schedule there, the breakdown for the evening. Yes. It's once a day. It depends on, like this one, I think is a powder, and it's 1 teaspoon is 4,500 milligrams. Well, that's way more than you need.
Say for the audience online, can you say what her question was?
She was asking how often we take the malic acid, if we do it in divided doses, or if it's just once a day dose. And so it's just once a day. You need about 800 milligrams. Now, if I have a linebacker that's 7 feet tall and 3 feet wide, he's going to need a little bit more. He might need a teaspoon. I don't know. But, yeah, just base it on your size. I'm little. I take 800, but my husband does too, and he has no problems. You know, but again, we're on a pretty alkaline diet. Okay, are we ready? Next slide. Okay. Stay home when you do this. So that's the last reminder. Okay, that's the end of that presentation. I just have a couple other things that I'd like to share. I do have some business cards up here if you're interested in following up on our website. If you'd like to order stuff from our store or whatever, I do have a few. They're not complete parasite detox kits because my supplier had to order one of the components for the colon detox from South Africa. He's had difficulty getting Cape aloes, which is in here. And I think it's probably going to be another couple of weeks before I can get this. So this is all I have is the bottles of 100. These are $15. The bags are $35 a piece. If you want to do the parasite detox, you will need both of these, mimosa pudica seed and anti-parasite formula. And if you're not having good regular bowel movements, you'll need the colon cleanse. I didn't ship any charcoal down here because most people that are interested in health have or can get charcoal, and it would have been more expensive to ship it down here. So I think that is something you probably could get locally. So if anybody wants this. Activated charcoal. Yeah. Yeah. We also have a binder blend on our web store called Cuff 'em. Handcuff 'em, that I designed it for people that have multiple issues like heavy metal toxicity, mold toxicity, environmental toxins, glyphosate. It covers pretty much anything that might be swimming around in your body. So that's why I designed Cuff 'em, but you can also use the activated charcoal alone, the powder. And sometimes whenever you do the parasite detox, as those parasites die, you can feel a little yucky and a little flu-like symptoms. And it's very helpful. I usually tell people to do it, you know, like close to bedtime, to take a spoon of charcoal and stir it in some water and drink it before they go to bed. That really helps a lot with the toxin die-off and stuff like that, the parasite die-off. So, okay, this will be here if anybody wants. It's first come, first serve. Otherwise, you'll have to order it off of our store. And that concludes this presentation. We can close with a prayer. It's 20 to 12. If you want, we can. If we have a lot of questions, do any of you have a lot of questions? Because we can actually do some Q&A now if you want to, because it's a little early. Okay, let's do the microphone here.
So, sorry. Does it depend the size of the stone in the gallbladder?
For the parasite detox?
For the parasite detox and the liver flush.
Does it depend on the size of the... I'm hard of hearing, y'all, so
Okay.
I am very hard of hearing. I really need to get hearing.
So if the stone is larger, is that a problem? Or if the stones are smaller?
Well, how do you know how big your stones are?
Well, I guess you can get a
If you're on a meat-based diet, if you're on a carnivore diet, your stones are probably bigger. But if you're on a whole food plant-based diet, your stones probably... The biggest I had was like that. But that was like in one of my early flushes, and I grew up eating anything that would quit wiggling long enough to get a fork in it, you know. So I have only been vegetarian. I think I became vegetarian when I was 22 or 23. So before that, so those stones are going to be bigger when you're on an animal-based diet.
Okay, so I guess to finalize the question, if the stone is 3/4 inch diameter, that's about the size you probably
Right.
showed. would that be a risk on concluding this flush?
No, the
Okay.
flush as mixed, I easily passed that stone. I didn't
Okay.
even feel it. I
Yeah.
felt it when it came out into the toilet. I was like, what was that? But as
That's
far as
surprising, yeah.
passing it, I can actually feel movements, like something's moving in here, in my liver and all around in here when I do the liver flush. But I've never had pain with a liver flush, even when I passed that great big one.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It's soft. Ones I had were soft.
Ones you had were soft? Okay, good. You were fortunate. Okay. One thing I'd like to address. I have had people tell me those are not liver stones. Those are just the olive oil congealed. Well, that's hogwash. Because if that were the case, I would have them every single flush. And I don't. So if it was the congealed olive oil, why don't I have them with every flush? It's not. It's actually stones from the liver and the gallbladder. So, any other questions? Okay. Wait for the microphone there.
How often did you recommend doing this flush?
Well, again, it depends. I usually do a liver flush at least every 6 to 8 months. And sometimes I'll do them like back to back. I'll do a series of liver flushes. If it's somebody who's never done liver flushes before, then I recommend series of liver flushes. Like I would do probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 liver flushes. Some people recommend doing liver flushes until you see very few stones. I have a hard time recommending that for people because that could be quite intense. That could be months of liver flushing. So I like to do it in series, you know, probably 6, 7 flushes every 2 to 3 weeks apart. So it's kind of like almost once a month for a while. It's a little bit more frequent than once a month, and then take a break. But for me, because I've been doing liver flushes for years, I do one probably about every 4 months, 3 to 4 months, something like that. So
I've heard that DMSO is good for hearing. Putting a drop in
good,
your ears.
good
like
for what?
Hearing. Your
Hearing?
hearing.
Yeah, mine is actually congenital. It's a genetic hearing loss. It's called reverse slope hearing loss, and I
But
was
they
born this way. Maybe I might.
They use
look
like
into
40% or 50% DMSO with
Okay.
water, I
Okay, all right.
guess. I've just read it.
I have heard that, and I've heard they have these devices for red light therapy that you put directly into the ear canal, and that is supposed to help with hearing loss too. I have a friend who bought those devices for her husband, and she said his hearing has improved. So whether it would help me, I don't know. So I might try it. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my wife was interested in knowing about the lemon juice. If that's something you do on an empty stomach at a certain time of day, that sort of thing to help the liver.
You mean using lemon juice for the flush as opposed to this?
No, just to maintain the health of the liver.
Oh, I see. Okay. Usually I do that first thing in the morning. I like to do it first thing in the morning because the sphincter at the top of the stomach is, it's just going to let that right in. And particularly if you use warm water and lemon juice with a little salt in it, I like to use a quart, like a quart of warm water, maybe a tablespoon-ish of lemon juice and a little pinch of Celtic salt, and I drink that down pretty quick. You'll go. If you're plugged up, you'll go. And if you're a big person, you can double that. And for me, with the quart, I try to make sure I get it in within at least 10 minutes or less. If you do a half gallon, like if you're a bigger person, and I've never had somebody that was constipated and nothing was working to do that half gallon salt flush with lemon juice who didn't go. I've never had it not work. So I like to do it in the morning.
Is that why the colonoscopy prep tastes like lemon?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to hide the nasty.
Yeah. The other question she had was about the preparation stuff, the apple derivative. Is that another thing that you just take first thing in the morning, or it doesn't matter, or
10 days.
the 10 days before your liver flush?
Oh, the malic acid, it
Yes.
doesn't matter what time of the day you take it. It doesn't, just as long as you're getting 800,
Just get it done.
just get it in. Yeah, yeah. I usually do it in the morning, but it doesn't, it's not time specific. Okay, any other questions? If we get Q&A knocked out now, then we can eat lunch and go home. So if you have questions, let's go for it. One thing that I did want to mention with the parasite detox, you know, I mentioned it in the parasite talk yesterday afternoon. We're always exposed to parasite eggs, constantly. You know, so it's not a once and done. It's not a once and done. The world that we live in is so dirty and toxic these days that we need to live a lifestyle of detoxification. I'm constantly doing things and thinking of what I can do that's going to support my body to get rid of the junk that I'm exposed to that I have no control over. I have no control over what they spray on me. I used to be out mowing the lawn and I'd look up at all that stuff they were spraying and I'd get mad. And then I realized there's nothing I can do about that, you know? Nothing I can do except support my liver. You know?
One other one. In thinking about the immune system that's constantly fighting all of these things, I would imagine, is this a part of tuning that up as well as just detoxification, or is there a way of now increasing the capacity of the immune system at the
Yes.
same time you're doing these other things?
Yes, that's a very good question, and it absolutely does. You remember, and one of the components of that has to do with vitamin D, because you remember if you don't have adequate bile and bile flow, you can't break down your fat-soluble vitamins, and vitamin D is one of them. And vitamin D is a very important component of, you know, the immunity. And so that's one component. And then if your body is so busy dealing with toxins, it's tied up. Your immune system is going haywire. It's in overdrive. So if you get this stuff out, lower the toxin load, your immune system is going to function better. We have one up here too. Okay, you and then we'll get you. Okay.
Is the oil critical in taking, I've got heart blockages and they got me on a 0 oil for my heart, so I've got 99% blockages.
Okay.
And I was just wondering if the oil is critical or is there something else that you could use other than the olive oil?
Okay. Jeff, can you tell me what he said?
You can't take oil. He's got blockages in his heart. And
Okay. Well, the thing about doing the flush is it's not going to go like into it's immediately flushed through the system. Okay, it's not going to accumulate in your arteries and stuff. That said, and I am not that familiar with these other types of flushes. This is the one that I do. There are people who do lemon juice flushes. They just drink, like the first day they'll drink the juice of 5 lemons, and then 10 lemons, and then and they go up to like 30 lemons a day. They have to drink all that juice. But somewhere along the way, typically they add in some olive oil, but it may only be like a couple teaspoons or tablespoons, I mean. But I personally don't think that would be an issue, because it's such a large amount of oil that the body is like, whoa, get this out of here, I don't need all that. And it's just a flushing reaction that the body gets. That's why we use it. So I hope that helps. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, you said that somebody that's on blood pressure medicines, did you say check with their doctor, or would you just go back over that a little bit?
Okay, when you're on blood pressure medication, this can concentrate your blood pressure medication. I can almost guarantee you that if you check with your doctor, he's going to laugh you out of the office. He's going to tell you not to do it. So you might want to find somebody that is a little bit more nature-based in their practice and work with that person to do it. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you need to be aware that it may concentrate your blood pressure medication and make it even more effective, so to speak. So it may lower your blood pressure too much. It doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot do the flush. You just need to be aware and be more cautious. So.
I have a question on a different subject. It's related to herbs. And when you're taking different natural remedies, I've been told that you need to take a break. You don't want to just take them continuously when you're dealing with a certain situation.
Right.
Can you talk about that? Is that universal with everything, and how long you take a break? And are there some you need to be more careful with?
Yes, there are some that you need to be more careful with, and in fact, one of them is my parasite detox protocol. Okay, I don't recommend people do this 90 days straight. I recommend people take 3 weeks on and 1 week off, because some of the herbs in here, like wormwood, black walnut hull, are very powerful, and they can be a little bit hard for the liver to metabolize, although they're also supportive to the liver. So these are things that definitely I like to have people take a break. On the other hand, something like malic acid is so safe, you can take it daily, okay? It's not going to cause a problem. So there are vitamin C, you know, I sometimes take vitamin C for weeks if I'm going to be around people.
Is it ever a situation of building up a tolerance for something, and your body just gets used to it and it loses its effectiveness because you're overusing it?
It can, yes.
For
And
instance, I take a real concentrated, it's called Alamed. It's a
Yes.
concentrated garlic.
Mhm.
Is my body going to get used to that level? And
You know,
I'm told by some people, no, that doesn't happen. You
Yeah.
can just keep taking it.
That's a good question. Whenever I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, I probably took 10 bottles of that stuff. And that is the only thing that I was able to budge my Rocky Mountain spotted fever titers
And
with.
how much did you take?
10 bottles.
How much a day?
I think I took like 2 or 3 tablespoons per day. It was a large dose, because Rocky Mountain spotted fever is no joke. It has a 30% mortality rate, and I nearly died. I went into chronic inflammatory response.
So you were serious if you're taking that much.
Yeah, I was very serious. And I was able to cut my titers in half, but because I was also dealing with mold and autoimmunity, I couldn't lick it. So I ended up going to Mesa, Arizona to see Dr. John St. Rose, and he did something called UBI on me. That's ultraviolet blood irradiation is one name for it. Basically what he did was he drew out some of my blood and he put it into a bag of fluids, IV fluids, and then he put ozone into that. He put, I think, like 60 or 80 cc's of ozone. I don't know what strength, because I couldn't see the machine, so I don't know what setting it was on. So he put that into the blood, and it turned the blood bright red. At one point, my blood was so thick and sludgy, it was terrible. I had terrible pain. My fingers would turn blue, and when I had my blood drawn, it wouldn't even come out of the needle. And this was all because of this tick and mold disease that I was dealing with. And so anyway, he put the ozone in there, and then when he reinfused that into me, it went through a little machine that had an ultraviolet light in it, and that ultraviolet light killed all the pathogens in my blood. And after the first treatment, I could tell a difference. I looked at my husband. I was just wilted when we got there. I was so sick. And I looked at my husband and I said, I think I feel better. So he took me from that. He put me in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. He took me from that, and he put me in a sauna that had ozone coming into it, and it did a steam sauna. And then from there, I went to the colonic. I kind of pride myself in being, pretty clean in my bowels, but oh my goodness, if you've never had a colonic, you need to experience that. You'll wonder where in the world all that stuff is coming from. So that's probably more information than you wanted.
Okay, what about the age for the
age?
detox? Is
For the
there
parasite detox?
yes, is there a too young of an age that shouldn't do that?
Yeah, a child needs to be old enough to safely swallow capsules. If they can't safely swallow capsules, you can take the mimosa pudica out and mix it with water, and then you can take the antiparasite out and mix it with apple juice or apple sauce or something like that. You're not going to hide the nasty taste of the antiparasite because it's got wormwood in it, black walnut. These are very bitter herbs. So if you can get the child to eat these things, even a child as young as 3 years old could probably, and I do. I have people all the time contacting me. You know, my 3-year-old is doing this, and my 4-year-old is doing this. Any younger than that, I would probably be a little cautious. But and there's other things that you can do to support liver detox. I mean, parasite detox until they get a little bit older. Pumpkin seeds, papaya seeds, all these are, and you can even give them teas and tinctures. You can get a glycerin tincture. Glycerin-based tinctures are sweet, and sometimes a little kid will even take those sweet tinctures like that, and that can help until they get a little bit bigger. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Could you just explain how to do the parasite detox with your kits?
Sure. Okay, I can do that. What I like to do, and I do have a video on this, so if I miss something, there's a video on my YouTube channel called Clarification, How to Do the Parasite Detox. And so what I like to do, it depends on how big you are as to how much you will take. But typically, an average size, now I'm little, but I take the full adult dose. Your husband is bigger. He may need a little bit more. He may do fine with the same dose that I take. You just kind of have to play with it. But typically it's 2 mimosa pudica seed capsules morning and evening on an empty stomach with no other supplement, no food, no nothing. At least 45 minutes to an hour away from any other food or supplement. The antiparasite capsules, this takes care of the eggs. The mimosa takes care of the adults. The antiparasite takes care of the eggs. And I like to do 2 capsules of this, like with breakfast and lunch. You can take this with food, it doesn't matter. And then, but before you start, if you're not having good bowel movements, then you need to take the colon cleanse. I have people start with 1 capsule and wait a day or two, you know, just doing 1 capsule and see if that increases your bowel movements, then that's good. If not, then you can go up to 2 capsules. When I married my husband, and he gave me permission to tell this story, he was pooping bricks. I mean, he was so constipated. It took me 11 of these capsules every single day to get him to have 1 bowel movement a day. He was so stressed. He was working full-time. He was working like, 70 hours a week, 60, 70 hours a week. He had his daughter every other weekend. He did Wednesday night prayer meeting, and he was having Bible studies. So it was hard to fit me into his lifestyle when we got married. That was a challenge. So anyway, you really need to make sure you're having good bowel movements before you start taking this stuff. So mimosa pudica seed can be a little constipating on some people. So just monitor your bowel movements. If you're already having good bowel movements and you don't need the colon cleanse, then watch it, you know, because sometimes the mimosa can slow things down and you might need to add the colon cleanse. So then there's another way that you can do it. We talked about the full moon and how parasites become more active at full moon, and that has to do a lot with neurotransmitters, the gravitational pull of the moon, all that stuff. But it's easier to access the parasites during that time. So at full moon, I'll have people double or even triple their dose for just a few days. And boy, you talk about a whammy. You'll be passing worms like crazy. And it's, you know, I have some people that are like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know what comes out. They just flush. They don't look. But I'm like, you know, you need to know what's going on. You need to know what's coming out. But, you know, to each his own. But sometimes, again, you can't see them. You have to go outside and get a stick and pull it apart, and you'll see it. You'll see them. So, is that enough information for you? Okay. That's good? Okay. Okay, and we do have a video on that, and I go into a little bit more detail and some of the nuances, and if you're big or you're small or it's your kid or whatever. So I cover all that in the video. So, yes, ma'am. Okay, let's get the microphone for you so we can get it on the...
You just mentioned pumpkin seeds. I wonder what that has to do with it.
Well, pumpkin seeds are mildly anti-parasitic, but you have to take them kind of alone. So what I usually have people do is take like a quarter cup of pumpkin seeds and chew them thoroughly and swallow. Eat those 15 to 20 minutes before a meal, and that can help. You know, it's nowhere near like I have never ever seen anything work like the mimosa pudica seed. It blows my mind. Before I found this stuff, I had done every kind of natural parasite detox. The only thing I hadn't done was turpentine. And man, that's amazing. It's amazing stuff. So, okay, anybody else got a question or a comment or whatever? There's one in the back. Yeah, we're waiting for the microphone.
What would you suggest for people who have severe, almost extreme health conditions that they need a maintenance of all the things that you've presented?
People with severe health conditions who need to for, as far as maintenance with a parasite detox and stuff.
Right.
I would do the full moon challenge every month. That's what I'm doing. Well, it's full moon right now. It was this weekend was full moon. And so obviously I'm not doing the parasite detox while I'm lecturing. So, and it's a mild parasite detox. It's not like one that's going to send you to the toilet. You can do it and work. You can seriously do it and go to work. But because when you have a chronic health condition, the parasites really get a foothold in your body, I really like to have people with chronic health conditions try to do the full moon challenge, at least the 3-day full moon challenge every month. And I try to do it as often as I can, and I end up maybe 8 months out of the year because we do travel a lot. So, okay, any other question? All right, we just got one here.
Can you fully explain the full moon challenge, please?
Yes, I can do that. Okay. Of course, at full moon, we talked about it in the previous talk. That's, you know, the melatonin, the serotonin in our body goes up, and the parasites respond to that. They become more active. This is the time frame that they mate. So it's more likely that they're going to be actually in the bowel so that you can access it with these things. So what we like to do is we like to double or even triple the dose of these things during that time frame. If you've never done a full moon challenge or parasite detox, then it's good to start with just the 3-day. And what that means is the day before, the day of, and the day after full moon, you double or even triple your dose. Okay? And if you, like for me, I usually do the 5-day full moon challenge. You know, sometimes if I'm rushed, I'll just do the 3-day if I'm in a hurry. But it's more aggressive to do the 5-day than the 3-day. And the 7-day is kind of really aggressive because you're taking really high doses of this stuff and you're really killing off some parasites. So be aware, if you're going to do a longer full moon challenge, you may not feel well because you're going to be killing off more of the parasites, and you may have some die-off from that. So does that answer your question? Okay. Right.
Do you have
anybody else?
Do you have a list? Do you have a list that shows what the what
I can't hear you, Jack. I'm sorry.
Do you have a list that shows the 5-day challenge and lists it all out?
Yeah, if you go to our YouTube, our webpage is closureforjesus.com, and I do have some cards up here if anybody wants one of our cards. Closureforjesus.com, and there's a blog tab. If you click on that blog tab and scroll down just a little bit, you'll see updated parasite detox protocol or suggestions. I forget what I named it, but anyway, and it's got all that information in there. And then even better is if you go to our YouTube channel, which is under my name, Dana Gazelshan, If you go to our YouTube channel and then look for the video called How to Do the Parasite Detox Clarifications. So those two things are great detail, and it's helped a lot of people to kind of clear up the mud, because it's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of protocol. You know, there's some, well, it depends type things in there, and so it depends on how big you are, it depends on how sick you are, and that kind of stuff as to how you take it. So. Okay.
One more. On that parasite detox or flushing, are there binders that can take all of that bad stuff in and carry it out? Are they included in the kit, or is that are there other things we can do to mitigate the effects of it?
Excellent question. Yes. And I mentioned earlier that I didn't ship my activated charcoal. It's usually a part of the kit. Activated charcoal, mimosa pudica, anti-parasite capsules, and colon cleanse are in the kit. But right now, I can't get the colon cleanse because my supplier couldn't get some of the components. But yes, activated charcoal will help to ameliorate some of the problems with the die-off. Another thing, and I mentioned this earlier, another thing that you can do if you're feeling really bad, and I use this for a rescue remedy, excuse me, and that is the coffee enema. You know, I struggle a little bit mentioning that in Adventist audiences or mixed audiences even, you know, with health reformers, because some people are offended by that. But the coffee enema is not at all like drinking coffee. I'm totally opposed to drinking coffee. But coffee in an enema dilates the bile ducts, causes the liver to dump massive amounts of toxins, and increases the glutathione production by up to 700%. So that's going to really, if you're feeling yucky with a parasite detox, consider doing the coffee enema, because it really turns things around fast. So I've seen people be pulled out, including myself, of just nausea where they just couldn't stop throwing up with using the coffee enema, and pain too. So, yes, sir.
Do you have anything to say about how a person can help blocked arteries?
I'm sorry.
Blocked arteries.
Oh, yeah, the whole foods plant-based diet, you know, cleans them out. And right here is somebody who used to work with Caldwell Esselstyn. He was a cardiologist, and that was what his specialty was cleaning out blocked arteries. And so the whole foods plant-based diet is very excellent, you know, to help to pull that out. Some people, and I am still researching DMSO. I have seen people use DMSO to help with that too. So, anyway, there's a question here.
You said it was a special brand of coffee?
Yes, thank you. Good question. I use from S.A. Wilson's, and that's their website, S.A. Wilson's. I don't know if they put the period in their email, but if you type in SAWilsons.com, that's the coffee that I use. It's when you boil the coffee. Now, like the Gerson folks, they recommend that you use 4 tablespoons of coffee to this. I cannot tolerate that. When I do a coffee enema, it's 2 teaspoons of coffee. That's all I can handle, okay? 2 teaspoons. And it works well. If I'm in severe pain from mold toxicity or the Rocky Mountain spotted fever and that pain was something else. That was some severe pain. Because of what my blood looked like. I had hypercoagulability, and my blood was not flowing, and my fingers were blue. But the coffee enema helped me even with just 2 teaspoons. Yes, ma'am.
The S.A. Wilson's coffee that she's talking about is mold-free and certified organic.
Good point. Very good point. A lot of coffees, don't just go to the store and buy organic coffee because you don't know. A coffee is one thing that molds quickly. And so people who drink a lot of coffee, I think they have more tendency to mold toxicity, but it is certified mold-free and it is organic. It is expensive, but it does work. It works very well. Yes, ma'am.
Friday night you mentioned Indole 3 Carbonol.
Indole 3 Carbonol, yes.
Do you have a specific brand that you would recommend, or do you sell that? Or?
Cruciferous vegetables are the best source as far as I'm concerned, but I have, when I was working with Maimon Wilson, I went and saw patients for him for a short time, and I was in Brooklyn taking care of a cancer patient for him, and he put her on that, and I think now brand has one, Indole 3 Carbonol. It's not something that I'm brand specific on. Yes, ma'am. Wait for the microphone.
About the coffee, you can put it in the freezer and it will keep, right? Because you're not going to use it all right away. So.
Right. I store mine in the freezer. Yeah, as soon as I get it, it goes to the freezer. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're talking about the uncooked coffee, the unboiled. And were you talking about the prepared coffee or the grounds?
Yeah. When you prepare that coffee for an enema, don't keep it more than 24 hours. And it has to be kept in the fridge. So you can make it like if you're going to do an enema in the morning, you can make it in the evening if you're going to work and you're in a hurry and all that. You can put it in the fridge and then just rewarm it. When you do the coffee enema, you really don't want to take that cold, because that cold is going to spasm down everything, and your body's going to want to spit it right back out. So if it's warm body temperature or a little warmer, and when I have worked with cancer patients and used the coffee enema, the warmer the coffee enema, the better the pain relief. So as warm, you don't want to burn them. The colon is very tender, but if you have it a little bit warmer than body temperature, like 100 to 102 maybe degrees, you're going to get even better pain relief. That's what I found, people that and that's what, for me, when I was, having the severe pain with the tick disease, I would take it warm. One night, and I think I shared a little bit about this night, that I was praying that I would die because I hurt so bad and it was just constant throwing up. My husband I looked up, I was laying on the back deck because I couldn't breathe in the house. I just felt like I was suffocating. So I was laying on the back deck on my camping pad, just rolling in pain. I would get up and throw up over the banister and lay back down and beg God to let me die. And I looked up one time and I saw my husband standing there, just consternation. We talked about Sabbath morning. He didn't know what to do. So finally he came out and he knelt down next to me. He said, "What do I do? How can I help?" And I said, "Make me a coffee enema." And he did. And I did one, and then I waited about an hour or two, and I did another one. And it took the edge off enough of the pain and the nausea and vomiting and everything that I was finally able to sit up a little bit. And it took me a while. This was when the whole thing with my liver was swollen and stuff. And that was when the Lord showed me that it was parasites. And so I started doing the parasite detox. And that was when, I started coming out of this thing. That's why my personal experience, not research, but my personal experience with this is why I recommend people to do the parasite detox before liver flushing. Because, I really believe that it was a parasite in my bile duct. And it was shortly after that I was watching a lecture by Dr. J. Davidson. And he mentioned that these roundworms like to hang out in the liver bile ducts. And that's what I was passing. So I really believe that's what the issue was, because it all reversed after that. So, yes, ma'am. Here's the microphones coming.
When you got convinced that it was the parasites, and then you started doing the parasite detox, and they came, how many years by that time had you been vegan?
25, maybe 30.
Do you think that people who have been raised on the standard American diet are more likely to have parasites, and even they can remain in cyst form and hang out in the body for like all those years, and then they learn the light of the health message and they give up the meat, dairy, and eggs, and then but they still need to do parasite cleanse because of when they didn't know what they didn't know?
Mm-hmm. It's entirely possible, yeah. You know, because they do live in cyst form in our bodies for years. And then as the adults begin to die off with the mimosa pudica, those adults send chemical signals for all those eggs to hatch. Another complicating factor with my situation when I was so sick was that the first time I did the parasite detox, I did it wrong. I only took the mimosa pudica seed, so I was killing off adults, and they were refertilizing my body with their eggs as they were dying, so I severely reinfested myself. Don't do that. Don't take just the mimosa pudica seed. Take the antiparasite also to deal with the eggs. So, yeah, I do think that people who are on a meat-based diet have more. Yeah.
I just have a quick comment. My grandma is in her 70s, has been vegan her entire life, mostly vegan her entire life, but definitely plant-based. And she started this parasite cleanse back in March, and she is still passing parasites. Wow. Mm-hmm. She has a partial blockage in her colon because of the parasites, I think. So.
And that was verified. I remember.
By the doctor.
Right. That was verified by the doctor.
Yes. And so it is possible for a person who is vegan and plant-based diet your entire life, who's only ever had one bite of meat your entire life, to be infested with parasite infestation that is so bad that it's causing terrible problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, you remember the ways that we're exposed to parasites that I talked about. Pets. If you have a pet in the house, there's no question you have parasites. You know, because they lick their backside, which is where parasites definitely reside. Then they lick their fur, and you pet them, and then you wipe your face and your mouth. And I mean, if you have pets, you have parasites. And then even if you're vegetarian, touching produce, gardening, we're exposed to these things all the time. Shaking people's hands, you know, we are exposed to them all the time. And so that's why we need to be regularly detoxing from these things. I believe everyone needs to do at least a quarterly parasite detox, at least quarterly. Here's another question here. Okay,
It seems like when you have a colonoscopy, they clean you out so well that they should clean some of that stuff out. It's kind of like you talked about stuff hiding in there,
Mm-hmm.
A fecal load hiding, and it seems like if you've had a colonoscopy, you're clean. Because they look all, I see a doctor shaking her head no.
Yeah, that's not true. I'm going to let the doctor answer, and then I'll give you my comment.
Okay, it just, because when I had a colonoscopy, I was surprised that the doctor said, I don't need to see you for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was an amazing, I thought a standard was more like every couple years. I like to do those.
I want to hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to comment on that too.
If you have no polyps, the standard of care is 10 years. The parasites hide in the bile ducts and in the crypts of the colon. You can miss stuff on colonoscopy.
Right.
The bowel is very folded, you know, and there's little folds and things can hide in there. So the colonoscopy prep is very thorough. It really cleans you out as you think that nothing more could come out, but there is no such thing as a really sterile bowel. And I don't, if the lady who spoke on Friday night is here, forgive me, I'm not trying to offend you. Tests can be imperfect in that they won't grow bacteria, but that could be more the fault of the test rather than an actually bacteria-free bowel. I've never heard of a living person having a bacteria-free colon.
Right, right. And with my hearing, I wasn't sure that I was hearing her question the other night correctly, so I wasn't exactly sure how to answer that. So it's, you know, I really probably need to get hearing aids, but I do have hearing aids, but they don't help, so maybe there's modern technology, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to address that, and she kind of said what I would say. But do you remember the picture of the eyeball that we looked at? Parasites hide places, you know. They can actually embed in the colon wall. They're not always in the lumen.
Can you trust these tests that you, I forget how the test went. I had a test and I was pretty clean. I went to a lifestyle center and they said, you need to get a parasite test. And I went online and I found one.
Was it an O&P, an ovum and parasite test that you had done?
I don't remember. What? Yeah, it was a regular lab. That was what they specialized in.
Notoriously inaccurate.
Inaccurate?
Notoriously inaccurate, yes. Here's the best test for parasites. You got a pulse, you got parasites. You're living on this earth, okay?
You know, back in the Depression, they had more dirt exposure and they was barefoot and all that. And my mom was telling that her mother used to give them about once a month wormwood or something that was real bad. And she had a uncle that didn't want his girl to have to take that awful stuff. And his little girl died of worms.
Oh, that's sad.
And some people will take turpentine for that, right?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, turpentine's the only thing I hadn't tried whenever I found Mimosa pudica. Somebody mentioned something about a zapper for parasites. I've never tried that. Why would I intentionally shock myself? I don't know. But anyway, no, I never tried the turpentine, but I even tried ivermectin on myself. Never saw anything. When I started trying the Mimosa pudica seed, it was like, oh my goodness. Where did that come from?
At the risk of being too graphic, when she mentioned about getting a stick to excavate the stool to see if there are parasites in it, also a little plastic butter knife that you can keep a clean Ziploc bag of those in the bathroom, and little paper bowls and stuff can make it a more practical experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the times that people, I get challenged all the time. Those are not worms. That's just the Mimosa pudica being stringy, because that's how Mimosa pudica is, and that's true. The ropeworm that we talked about the other night may actually be partially Mimosa pudica, and that's okay. Its nickname is gut scrubber, so it's scrubbing stuff off the colon wall. But what I did one day is when I was passing these roundworms, is I fished one out of the bowl, and I put it on a plastic bucket lid, and I took it outside and I rinsed it off, and the thing was pink, and it had a head, and that was a worm. I'm sorry, it was a worm. It was not part of my colon wall. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned about, parasites could cause cancer. And I want to share a story that the doctor told me. It's a food doctor.
Okay.
But anyway, we were talking about everything. And he said, I just, let's say a week ago, went for a funeral for my friend, and he was a doctor also. And he had brain cancer.
Mm.
So, and he said the relatives did autopsy for already dead person, and they found a lot of parasites in his brain.
Wow, yeah.
That's a brain cancer. That's exactly what you said,
Yes.
that parasites cause
Yes.
cancer.
Yeah.
What about the traditional, like you talked about, ivermectin and Pirantel type things? Are they just not effective, or are they more animal specific, or what?
Well, I'll tell you from my personal experience, we used to raise border collies, and we would always, people want their puppies to have their first worming and stuff like that before you sell them. And so we used ivermectin on them, and I was looking at the bottle one day, and I thought, I'm going to try this on me. So I gave myself a big dose of ivermectin. I didn't see anything. And I never saw really much with the puppies either. So I don't believe that we need to resort to drugs. You know, this is an herb. This is something that, as far as I know, there's no side effects other than it's slightly constipating to some people. It's not going to hurt you. You know, ivermectin does have its side effects. It is a drug.
So on the flip side of that, would this be good to give our animals?
Yes, that's a good question. I have people all the time call me, I've got a little dog, you know, she's so. Yes, you can use Mimosa pudica for that. You just have to, if it's a little bitty dog, you go by weight. If it's a little bitty dog, you'll have to open a capsule and give them a little bit of it. And then you use the anti-parasite a little bit. The anti-parasite, you'll probably have to hide it in something because it tastes yucky, and they're probably not going to eat it. But the Mimosa pudica, you can just, you know, I'll tell you what my dad used to do. He would take pills when he had to give a dog a pill. He would open their mouth and shove it way down and close their mouth and pop them on the nose. And they would always swallow. That's how Daddy did it. And it worked. I mean, I grew up on a farm, and that's what we had to deal with stuff. So.
Our dog likes it embedded in a date or a dried apricot.
Oh, cool. That's a good idea. See, I learned. Cool enough.
Our dog would like it in some
Oh. I call those doggy Tootsie Rolls.
I have a friend online that would like to ask a question, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Hello, this is Kathy from Washington. I had a question about tachycardia or some kind of, you know, there's quite a few people that I know, and I have that also. The fast heart rate, it just comes and goes. Like every few months, I have an attack of the fast heart rate, and then it goes up.
So she's asking about tachycardia, if you can give any information about tachycardia.
You know, I have a friend who's making a heart tonic that she's had phenomenal results with. The formulation was put together by a doctor. I think he's dead now, but he has a book, and she has reversed tachycardia, AFib. She's had people that have had congestive heart failure improve with this heart tonic. So I can, well, let me just give you guys her name and address. We'll just do it right here, her name and phone number. Her name is Angela Alberts. There's a video on our YouTube channel by Angela that has all of her information. Okay, Angela Alberts is her name. Her phone number is 308-991-4422. 308-991-4422. Angela Alberts. 308-991-4422. Angela Alberts. Angela Alberts. Yeah, she has had incredible results with that. I put my mom on it to help with her blood pressure. Aren't you taking that for your blood pressure? Has it helped you? It has helped you. Okay. So it's even helped people with hypertension.
Okay, thank you. And what is it called again?
Heart tonic.
Heart tonic?
Yeah, I think that's all she calls it, is heart tonic. Yeah. But Angela is a friend of mine. That we did this Zoom interview. I just had it on our Rumble channel for a while because I was afraid YouTube would delete it. But it is on our YouTube channel now. Yes, ma'am.
Your comment just made me laugh about dogs that eat their own excrement. And when dogs eat poop, there's a scientific word for that called coprophage. And copro means the stool, and phage means to eat. And so there are various animals, when they don't have the right food in their environment, they will eat their own doo-doo. And so, like, rabbits do that if they don't get enough nutrients. Dogs will do that. Camels will do that. And you know how the Bible talks in the Old Testament about the clean and unclean meats? And some of us have been looking at that issue and wondering if the reason that God says don't eat rabbits and little ground squirrels and chipmunks and like that, because they'll do that in an environment of scarcity, and this concentrates the environmental toxins in their tissues. You know, like pigs can eat a rattlesnake and it won't hurt them, but they store the dangers of what they eat in their tissues, which is why pigs are so unclean, among other things like seafood and shellfish and all the things that the Bible talks about being unclean. So that's the conjecture of some of us is coprofags are, the Lord told us not to eat them because we could get toxic from what they store.
Good point, very good point. Okay, any other questions? This is our Q&A, by the way, because we had time to do it this morning, so we unless a lot of questions pop up, we won't do Q&A this afternoon. We'll just have lunch and we can go home, so.
Pardon me for hogging the microphone, but somebody made a comment about, yes, you did, about the brain cancer and the parasites. There is a connection between pork eating, parasites, and migraines. Big connection between migraines, pork eating, and parasites. Some of my patients have been able to cure from migraines just by giving up all pork.
Now imagine how they feel if they did a parasite detox. Yeah, for real. Okay, there's a question over here, Jeff.
About the coffee enemas for nausea. Can that nausea be from any reason, like chemotherapy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Now, the caveat there is if you're taking chemotherapy, the coffee enema is going to take some of that drug out of your system, and you might want to talk to your physician about that one. It could concentrate that. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, good. All right. I do have a couple of the components of the detox kit up here, the parasite detox. I'll be here for lunch, so if you think of another question, it's good to do it now, though, because then everybody can benefit from the discussion. And, you know, some of you guys have experience in things that I don't. We can talk about things and going once. Okay.
Are you selling the components?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I think I shipped 10, but I only had 6 of these, and that's just because there's a shortage right now because my supplier is out, and it'll probably be about 2 weeks before I can get that. But if you want to do this, or if you're having trouble with constipation or whatever, this is very similar to Dr. Schultz Formula 1. So you can go online and look for Dr. Schultz Formula 1. Alternatively, there is a tea that you can buy on Amazon called Smooth Move, and you will go if you drink that tea, I guarantee you. We have one back there and one here.
I was saving my questions because I didn't want to hold the wireless mic, but he's helping me.
Okay.
Do you think, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Do you think this would work for Lyme parasites, doing the Mimosa pudica, and do you think it would help with Lyme?
It will help, but it's not going to get rid of Lyme. You're going to have to, Lyme is a tough booger. I mean, you really, that's a whole different ball of wax right there, you know. But yes, the parasite detox will help. It's going to help any condition.
And then I have a question. I was thinking about it, doing the parasite cleanse. And what if you did 3 weeks of parasite cleanse and then 1 week of a liver cleanse, and then just kind of repeated that a couple of times? Would that be something you would recommend? Or
well, I've never recommended it, but it wouldn't hurt. You can do that, and I think I mentioned it on the little video up here that when you mix the oil mixture, that you can actually put a tincture or extract or whatever of wormwood, black walnut hull, and that's because it helps to pull parasites through with the flush. You know, if there's any that are hanging out, in the bile ducts and stuff. But again, I do like to have people do at least a month's worth, you know, the 3 weeks of parasite detox before they start trying to do liver flushes.
Okay. And how much malic acid do you take for the 10 days before you do the liver?
800 milligrams a day.
800 milligrams a day. Thank you. I didn't.
Right. Okay. There's one here. Are you still have your question? There's one here and then one there.
Do you take credit cards?
I can. I'll have to do it on my computer.
Do you take checks?
Yes. Yeah.
You might have answered this before I got in. Is there an age limit on the liver cleanse you would say, no, don't do?
That's a really good question. You know, I have had kids, you know, as young as probably 14, 15 do it, but younger than that, I don't have a lot of experience with that, with younger kids. So I'm not comfortable, I'm really not comfortable recommending children probably younger than 12 really to do this. And honestly, you're probably going to have a hard time getting a kid younger than 12 to do this anyway. But as far as the parasite detox, I've got kids as young as 4 doing the parasite detox. You just have to open up, because they can't swallow capsules yet. You just have to open them up. So, okay, is that it? Everybody good? Let's pray and let's go eat. Okay? Heavenly, am I supposed to bless the food, you said? Okay, good. Heavenly Father, I really thank you so much. This has been such a blessing to me. It's been such a good experience to be with these folks. I thank you for this experience. I've learned so much from these people. And I thank you for giving me the strength and the grace and helping to subdue my cough. And I thank you for the people coming and listening, and I pray that you would help them with the things that they've learned this weekend, to implement them, that you would keep them safe as they travel home, and me too. Thank you for the food that you have provided for us, and I ask that you would bless it to nourish and strengthen our bodies. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, yeah.